It's a hard world to get a break in, and the good things have been taken. But girl, there are ways to make certain things fade. Oh, I'm dressed in these rags, I will sable someday. Hear what I say, I'm gonna ride the serpent. No more time spent sweating rent. Hear my command, I'm breaking loose. It ain't no use me down. Stick around, but baby, remember, it's my life and I'll do what I want. It's my life and I'll think what I want. Show me I'm wrong, have me some time, but someday you'll treat me real fine. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, citizens of planet Earth and beyond, stretching far off into the galaxy, as far as your mind's eye and your imagination can take you. Welcome to the Pork and Bean Show, starring Pork Cunningham and Frank Oliver Baines. We're going to introduce you to new thoughts, put questions in your head, and consider things you never considered before. Where the paranormal becomes the normal, where unreal becomes real, and where love is everything. Fasten your seatbelts and enjoy the ride.
Yeah. For me and the Lord, you gotta understand it. We're on a mission from God.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, we had the countdown. Hello, everybody. This is Pork Cunningham, and this is my co-host, Frank.
Frank Oliver Beans.
Frank Oliver Beans. Sometimes we just call him Franco Beans, if we get lazy.
Forgot to plug in my microphone to make me sound cooler. But I tell you that I can't tell any difference. Microphone, turn on now. Ooh.
Is it on?
Oh, does this sound better?
No.
It doesn't. Then why did I pay all this money for this microphone?
Back up a little bit and let me hear you.
Hello?
Now get right close.
Oh, no, just now it says your default microphone. Your default microphone just turned on. Your default microphone just turned on.
There you go. Now you're sounding like a DJ. Hey, I got to get one of those. I'll put the bass on so I can get the Barry White. I don't know, Barry White. Get the...
You got a good Barry White imitation, better than your Frank Sinatra.
Well, Frank Sinatra's the best in the world, man. Barry White was just one of the good ones.
And that's what I was talking about, photography. When you compare yourself with the best in the world, it's like, oh shit, man, I'll never get that good.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
Well, you're a better singer than I've ever been.
Yeah, probably. I would hope so.
Well, I can't remember the words, so I go, it's been a hard day's night, blah, blah, blah. It's been a hard day's night. I forget the words. So
I've been working like a dog.
Yeah, that's it.
See, that's probably why you forgot the words. Because you're not working right now, right?
I'm not working.
See, I could have been really cruel there, but I'm trying to turn over a new leaf and be a gentler, kinder
And
Port
even when
Cunningham.
I worked, I used to be in the International Brotherhood of Slackers.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what our motto was? Our motto was, don't run when you can walk. Don't walk when you can sit. Don't sit when you can lay down. That was our motto. International Brotherhood of Slackers.
Wow, how do you join that?
I think it's free. You just have to sign up.
Oh, really?
There's no benefits except you don't get to have to work hard. That's the only benefit.
No, I think probably you feel good not doing anything because you've got a bunch of other people that are like in your clique or
Oh yeah, then there's a lot of
fraternity.
other things. There's a lot of other things is before you start any task, this is the code of the International Brotherhood of Slackers. Before you start any task, you assess the blame. You have to assess the blame. That means you have to have good excuses for why your job didn't get done before you start a job. So before you start the job and you know you're going to slack, you have to come up with the good excuses.
Or you have to know who to blame.
You have to know who to blame. You assess the blame. Who are you going to blame for why I didn't have the materials weren't there, or you had trouble with the electric or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or we weren't clear about what the task was or something. You know.
So you guys were actually really diligent in throwing the blame elsewhere. I mean, you weren't really slacking in that capacity.
Well, as long as it worked towards our goal of being able to sit down or lay down.
Right. Yeah, I got it. So, I was just thinking, one of our guests that we had on, actually, and I'll let you see if you can figure this out. I'll give you a little, I'll tell you, I'll give you the answer, but I'll give it to you in a riddle and see if you can figure it out. See if you're sharp this morning there, Frank. So
I like your internet connection. I'm admiring it. I'm lusting after your internet connection.
Yeah. So one of our guests that we just recently had, if you play your cards right, you can be traveling across this country, rolling across this country in style. So that's the riddle. So who do you think I'm talking about?
Who traveling across the country?
You could, if you play your cards right with this guy or gal. Well, we haven't had any gals, so I guess it's a guy. So you 50% eliminator right there. If you play your cards right with this guy, you're going to be rolling across this country in style.
Oh, that's a riddle I can't suss. Coffee. Is that a whole quart? Is that like a liter of coffee?
I've just got it. I've just got the intravenous going into the.
Oh, okay.
But no. But well, how many guests have we had? Come on, it's not that hard.
Well, there was you and me, and then me and you,
and then me and you and me again. I think we did that about 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. And then we had 3, didn't we? 2, 3. 3.
Yeah.
Kevin, Sam, and Peter so far.
Yeah. So the answer to the riddle is in one of those people. If you play your cards right, you're going to be rolling across this country in style.
So I have to gamble. Who am I gambling with? Huh.
Well, do you know the names of our guests? That might help. Maybe the answer's in the name.
Well, we just talked to Faye Prince, so it's not her. She's not a guest yet, but she said she might come on. Peter and no. I don't care either.
You don't know?
Somebody's going to buy me a car, or somebody going to drive me to?
Well, you're going to be whatever. I mean, cars are probably a pretty good guess, but you're going to be rolling across this nation in style, in luxury and style, put it that way. If you play your cards right.
Oh. Then that would be Kevin.
That's right. Because he is actually related to the family, the Royces in Rolls Royce.
No kidding.
Yeah, he's got some kind of connection with them. So, so
he's pretty cool. Plus, he has these amazing experiences too.
Yeah.
2 times he saw a family of Sasquatch, different, and I don't know if it's the same family. Saw them cloaking as human beings. That's like phenomenal.
I think I've been very, very suspicious at least 3 times that I've experienced the same thing. But anyway, we can save that for another time. So why don't we do a little bit of this Sasquatch book again, get back into that. And what I thought what I thought I would do is from page 40 on up until, let's see, up until about, say 100.
Brian McSkimming.
Well, that would be no, it's Graham McSkimming.
Graham McSkimming. Brian Bland. And
well, I'll tell you what. You pick a number between
47.
47. Okay. Let's see what it says. See if it can relate to something that we're going to do. Okay, 47. Oh, lucky me. This is a really short one. Now, these, as I said, the Sasquatch book is messages from Sasquatch elders and Sasquatch teachers or whatever. And he compiled a book of some of their quotes. So on page 47, we've got, the nature of God is of interest in all respects. And that's Akita Odin of the Takan Tatantuk clan.
The nature of God is
of interest in all respects.
Well, that's pretty deep. I have to think about that one.
Yep.
I can't even make a joke about it. That's pretty amazing, actually.
No.
What do you think it means?
Well, let me look at it again.
The nature of God is of interest in all respects.
Well, he's got everything we do is of God. Maybe it's saying you can see God in all, in nature, and you should be interested in seeing God or something like that. Well, I mean, they say that God is the experience of us all creating the experience of God. So it could have something to do with that too. So anyway, let's get into our mailbag. Let's see what we got here. I'm amazed at how many fans we have. It's like growing. I mean, I can barely get the The big. It's like a Santa Claus bag I have to drag into the car every week. They pick up at the post office. Oh my! Go figure. Do you remember Edna Ricketts?
Edna Ricketts, my first fan.
Yeah. Well, she's saying, "Oh, Edna Ricketts." I mean,
she's the one with the geriatric lust, right?
that's right. Well, she must be writing a lot, or it's just like a complete coincidence. But anyway, but she actually has a question for you, but it's about me. So she's got. I think she's from the South, isn't she?
I don't know. I never met her.
I thought she was from a. Well, she's looking for you. I thought it was from around your area actually, because she's got to be a Southern lady because she calls you Mr. Frank. Isn't that a Southern expression, the ladies? Quite often?
I don't know.
Like Mr. Frank or Mr. Bill or something? Maybe.
People say, hey, how you doing? That's what.
Yeah, I know. You know, maybe I watched too many of the old movies or something, I guess. Probably. Anyway, she says, Mr. Frank, what is the one thing that you always wanted to ask Mr. Pork, but haven't until now? Good question.
That is a good question.
Make it kind though. Be kind.
Kind? Yeah. Why?
Well, somewhat.
Why are we using assumed names unless? Why are we using assumed names?
Well, you know what? That's funny because I wanted to actually address that. And thank you for your question, Edna. Well,
Edna, it was a good question. Went right to the heart of the issue.
Just in case friends or family actually happen to come across this show, we're aliases. You know?
Aliases. That's another name? Like Alias Ness?
No. Frank, don't tell anybody, but Frank Oliver Beans and Pork Cunningham are actually aliases. We're kind of like keeping on the lowdown. So
yeah. Okay.
That's the answer because, you know, I mean, hey, I wouldn't want my family and friends to see this show. At least not yet. Maybe somewhere down the road.
You wouldn't want your family and friends or any viewers to watch it either.
Or anybody with a rational mind. What the hell is that?
She's getting a message as we're speaking, off scene, off the stage. She's getting a message from the Sasquatch people. How cool is that? What a great way to introduce Hillary Ries. Or is that how you say her name, Ries? Or Ries?
I would say Ries.
Ries. So she's out there right now as we speak. Do you think it had anything to do with doing the Sasquatch quote or Squatch?
Squash. The squash people.
Squatch quotes. Squatch.
Okay, I'm just going to read her introduction because we're going to bring her on in a second.
She wrote a book, right?
Yeah, but let me just read her introduction, or she sent me a little bio. So Hillary Ries was born in Laguna Beach, California, a member of the Merfolk clan. Shekina Ma is a mother of 2 teenage daughters, an author, speaker, teacher, and ascension coach, here to help humanity ascend into 5D and the 5th age of peace, as was prophesized by the Hopi people. And you know Randy Barnes? Have you heard of him? He recommended, he's good friends with Hillary, and I've met her before at Kelly and Key One gathering a few years back. But anyway, I met her briefly, and good friend of Randy Barnes, and he suggested I bring her on. So we're going to do that right now.
I don't see her in the.
No, I just pressed her. I just pressed it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I just pressed it. There she is.
Hello.
Hey.
How's it going?
Hello. It's going good. So I just read your little bio. We did our little, whatever you call it, our little preamble.
My
And
cat's kind of attacking me. She just popped in here.
oh,
Maybe she's waiting for the party.
what's the cat's name?
Ruby.
Oh,
Yeah,
a girl or a boy?
it's a
Wait a minute. Let
girl.
me live. A boy?
Girl.
Oh
You
yeah,
got
you can. Yeah, you
kind
know
of
what?
green eyes, isn't it?
Yeah, she's a beauty. She was born like right on Halloween, so she's my black cat.
Sweet.
And she came to us in 2012. I just realized she's like 8 years old.
Oh
Anyway,
wow, she came in a very important year, didn't she? 2012.
2012 in Halloween, which is All Souls. What do they call it? All Souls.
well, it's actually Hallows or Samhain. I mean, kind of like the Mexican people, they call it the Day of the Dead. So there's like the Christian All Hallows or All Saints Day, kind of all
Yeah.
follows the line. But it's the witches' New Year. So that's when the people of the Wicca nation all celebrate a new year. So it's kind of different
It's
for
also
everybody.
supposed to be when the veil is the thinnest.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so anyways, I had a really good download, just like I didn't know we were hopping on this morning, so sorry I wasn't available when you first reached out. But yeah, I'm glad I went out and did what I did because I got a good message for the podcast, if you'd like.
Yeah.
Awesome. So okay, what was the message?
Well, I should probably introduce myself because I did meet you, Brian, at the Psychic Sasquatch gathering, but I've not yet met Michael. So maybe
Okay.
we'll do that first.
Okay. How about you introduce yourself to us? How you kind of from the beginning and whatever, and introduce yourself to Michael and just whatever you want to say. Yeah, absolutely, go for it.
Sweet. Well, thank you, first of all, both of you, for like connecting with me and just making this good connection. So thank you. I did meet Brian, and as I said, at the Psychic Sasquatch gathering, and was really impressed with his experiences. You were talking a lot with my camping partner, Sequoia. So like I heard a lot about just different things you shared. We talked about it through the weekend. So I live in Nelson, BC, just interior British Columbia. And, after going to that gathering, like I was also pretty close friends with Sambo. So we would go out and go on hikes and like have, kind of this merfolk, mermaid lady meet Sasquatch. So it was quite a magical connection. We both had lots of lifetimes way back when. We kind of processed those together. We also worked mutually at this very interesting FLFE, Focused Life Force Energy. So we both went through a lot of really big revelations together, just in dealing with this interesting Luciferic consciousness. And so long of the short, he pretty much like activated me into Sasquatch connection. So
Who activated you? Was
really
it Sumbo that activated you? Who?
Yeah, Sambo.
Okay, that's makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote a few articles for him in his Sasquatch Message to Humanity website. So there's some information about that kind of on record. So long of the short, like in moving through kind of the revelations I was getting from the Sasquatch, specifically at first what I called the mamas. They came at me, met me the second year at the Psychic Sasquatch gathering. I tend to go my own way. I'm not a huge group person. I like to be kind of just in the connection. Like I don't want to talk about it. I want to be in it. Like I want to experience it. So I find, at a lot of different gatherings and festivals, we talk and we talk and we talk, but where it's at is in the forest, where, the beings that we're talking about are waiting for us. So I would go down into the forest and these mamas appeared, female Sasquatch with their young, and started giving me a lot of kind of around the moon and around the menstruation of women and just fertility and the Sasquatch connection to us and into this whole hybridization thing. So this kind of ties into what I got today in the forest, which was that there's like an inversion spell. And so black magic, which is what my book kind of goes into. So I wrote this book recently, just got published. And it goes into, I'm not sure if you've heard of the black goo before. So the black goo is something Harold Potts-Vella. He's a German scientist. He's a genius. So you can look him up.
Yeah, the black goo is about was one of the big things about that Gulf oil spill. That was related to the black goo because there was black goo in there. That was why all the
Well, the Hopi talk about the black snake prophecy. So the black snake prophecy is parallel to like the pipelines and yes, the oil. But the black goo actually originally, even like Edgar Casey gets into it when he talks about Atlantis. And there was an asteroid that fell to the earth at the time of Atlantis, which infected the planet with what's called black goo. And this is a black spore, like a fungus or a mold, something that has an intelligence. And actually, when it spread, it began to create, like I said, an intelligence, an entity, which then contrived, according to Casey and according to Harold Potts-Vella, black magic. And it's an inversion. So in what I like to discuss is there's the matrix, and then there's the natrix. So the natrix is the original blueprint, like our original codes of creation, you know, dating back to like Lemuria and even off-world. It's kind of that UFO, I call it, the UFO-C, Unified Field of Consciousness. So this is this whole, like as the Hopi say, the hoop, the sacred hoop of life. And when the black goo came, they created like a cavity and it became infected with this black goo, which then spread like a cancer, creating evil, if you will. And so what this black magic intelligence does is it copycats, and it inverts. So where you have Kundalini in like the Gnostic or Hermetic, you know, tradition, they talk about the Kundalini when it falls out, it becomes the devil's tail. And that's where, you know, your body's serpent consciousness has now been perverted or inverted, and it's actually no longer, you know, like this. So where I got in the message today was bringing up, like Sasquatch, for example, was taken and then put as like a barbaric, like a, you know, an aggressor. You know, we see like, you know, the movie Harry and the Hendersons, you know, and here's Sasquatch and it's this loving, gentle being. And then they want to put out signs with his gnarled teeth and like a, you know, as an aggressor. So that's one example of how they invert and then they create their own things, like taking the elves and making them into orcs. When you invert or pervert and make, you know, black magic, you're taking like the natrix and making the matrix. And so that's what the work is right now for all of us light workers, is to reverse the curse. It's like flipping, it's kind of even related to the polar flip, but it's like resetting our consciousness and writing it from where it's been inverted. If that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what they were like, this is what we want you to talk about. We want you to talk about how humanity, it's like flipping the switch. It's like going from this fear-based dogma, divide and conquer mindset, which is a mind virus planted in by the black goo. And then now we have EMK Ultra. So they've stepped it up on steroids and taken like regular mind control and made it now a frequency control. And so what I see is this is operating through the same intelligence, but in a sophisticated way. So again, like dragons, they've inverted dragons to be evil, but dragons are not at all evil. And in fact, the dragon lines are what they're attacking. So the ley lines, the grids. So it's interesting how you can look at how the merfolk were made into sirens we were like caused to be something horrible. They take everything that's sacred and they make it into something to be feared, something that is a weaponized tool, and something that breeds more, evil, essentially.
I agree 100% with everything you said.
Yeah. Can I just wanted to, something interesting. You mentioned MK Ultra, right?
Mhm.
I'm friends on Facebook with somebody who calls herself MK Ultra Girl. She went through it.
Mhm.
And there's actually pictures of her doing it or whatever. And, when they were experimenting on her. And interestingly enough, we became friends and we're talking, and I started talking about Sasquatch with her and said, hey, make a glove and connect with them with your heart or whatever. And then she just messaged me a while back, and now she's starting to get a connection with them. So pretty interesting, pretty neat.
They're growing, like I'm told anyways that there's talk about thinning of the veils. There's a very thinning of the veils going on as we are picking up in vibration. It actually destroys illusion, right? So with all, we see 0.0035% of the visible light spectrum. So we see not even a half of 1% of what is real. So from that very, very small lens, we only see things, and everybody knows this in the quantum physics world, etc. It's not breaking news, but we're seeing like just the form. We're not seeing the living. I mean, unless you're on medicine, you're not going to see the living, breathing, moving, flowing universe. So that's what we're kind of moving into. Is just the planet is ascending. We are in this whirling rainbow prophecy, which is the Hopi prophecy, which is that, and it's on Prophecy Rock. So whereas you go all the way around the circle of the rock is 5D consciousness, fifth age of peace consciousness. But that's the path that's humble and like the good red road. So if you're on the other path, they show that you get like success and you get all these things, like it's this, elevated path, but it's very choppy. And they also laid out the wars, and then they say that just ends abruptly. So it does not make it around the rock. So that's kind of what I feel in relation to communicating with these, I don't like the word force, sources. So there's sources of intelligence everywhere. They're all talking. Like we're just radios, so we receive and broadcast. So if your signal's jacked and hacked, you're not going to pick up the signals. But if you can fine tune your signal, your receiver, you'll receive like a radio station, the signal, and then you'll broadcast. You'll be able to share it out into the world. That's what they want from us. They want podcasts. They want information networks. They want people to experience 5D consciousness. So like my second book, I kid you not, nobody knows this yet, but in the book, the Pleiadian Star Mother Council, they're like, we're so happy with what the work is that people are doing, that they are planting. This is total quantum reality. They are planting their fleet into these book copies. They're going to be living books of light. And in each book will be one of the ships, a crystal ship embedded into the body of the book. Just like the Gospel of Jesus. If you actually had access to the real gospel that Yeshua wrote himself, the words are living light. It's kind of like in Lord of the Rings when they put the ring in the fire and all of a sudden you see this elven or like some language of light appear on the ring. That's what I'm being shown is being put into this book. And they want to start, really pulsing, transmitting, getting people ready because we're about to go, take that quantum leap. So it's kind of in our purpose to get everybody ready, to get everybody in sync, like entrained into these frequencies. Yeah.
Yeah. You said it you basically said, what my understanding too, except way more eloquently. But basically your main point is that they're trying to elevate our consciousness to that 5-dimensional consciousness because that's where the transition and the change and everything comes. So Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you said it way better than I could have said it, but well, feeling way
I'm a
more.
writer. I like wordsmithing.
No, I
So
do too. I do too.
yeah.
But you seem like you're more like a details person. I'm just like I get the general knowing without, So
I
that
always
that, that
respect the people who can have like that photographic memory, because when you're trying to speak with people whom are programmed
yeah.
and all they're saying is BLM, 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 you're a racist, white privilege, da 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 da. And you're just like, wait a minute, can you please talk to me like a human being or any level of consciousness rather than just a wall that you're just projecting at? Like, I don't like the way people talk. So when you're trying to be like, whoa, there's way more going on to this. Like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. Do you know what you're talking about? Let's go down the wormhole. But it's like, in that way, it's like I realized you want to know the facts, the details, the names, the dates. So I don't even engage. That's 3D, 4D conversation constructing. It's not my role. It's probably not your role. Like, our roles aren't to get into the nitty gritty, like analyze, dissect. That's old paradigm. So the new paradigm is seeing the unified field of consciousness where it's like transcendent of all those lesser forms and structures.
I think everybody's doing their bit in their own unique way. Like obviously you are, people like Sunbo, myself, Michael. It's all built around our personal strengths, right?
Yeah.
How we can get the message out there, whatever. So how did this happen for you? Like as a little girl, did you have some kind of something dramatic happen that changed your life, or tell us a little bit about how you got started and how?
Right. It's always good to go back to the beginning. So that's not the beginning. That was the beginning of this lifetime. This lifetime, grew up in Laguna Beach, and I spent a lot of time in the ocean. So I had I would dream, say for example, one of the potent dreams I had was like this orca whale who was birthing, and I was magnetically drawn to her. So I went into the ocean and there's blood, and I'm like, what am I doing? And I'm swimming in the water with this whale, which orcas don't hang out in Laguna Beach. So I'm not really sure why that was an orca. Other than that, later I moved to Canada and had lots of contacts with the orca later in my life. So it was like calling, maybe. Long and short, so communing with the ocean, communing with the intelligences of the Akasha, like the living records, like the whales are the keepers of the records. So I just always had that. And I was abused as a child, and I was suicidal since about 6, 7. Like pretty much as long as I can remember, I was like, get me out of here. Like, I don't want to be here at all. I felt like I was allergic to reality. And Laguna Beach is a plush place that nobody that I couldn't commune. You know, you could go out into the ocean and commune, but you go into like reality and you just be like, geez, where is the sacred? Where is the living consciousness? This is so dry and superficial. So I had a real hard time. I guess I spent a lot of time alone, writing, reading, and communing. That's the only way I can describe it. It's not meditating. It's not even like things that you're trying to do. It's just being in communion to intelligence. And Sasquatch was not like a name that I had at that time, but I did recognize presences that had a feeling, a sensation, a vibration that I could say now was Sasquatch. More I was into the water realms and into the merfolk consciousness, going way back to Lemuria. I would dream of ancient Mu, had no idea, went to Hawaii a lot, found that that would get amplified, had teachers since I was 18, 19, 20, who brought me into Egyptian mystery schools, Native American shamanism. So I started getting deep into that. My previous background was Christian. My godfather who raised me was a priest. He's actually famous. He opened many different schools and churches in Orange County, California. So a lot of rich folk. It all shaped, I guess, because I have a deep, like, Christ conscious connection. but I never believed in the story. None of that felt right. I was just like, this is so good and also so not right. Like, it's like a taste of what is good, but so manipulated.
Oh my
So,
God, yeah. That's exactly. I'm sorry for interrupting, but that's exactly how I felt. Like
yeah,
I believe in the man. I feel him in my heart. I feel the love. But that story stinks.
yeah,
Sorry.
that story stinks.
Sorry, but that
So
story
sorry.
didn't add up. But basically, you're saying you felt like a square peg in a round hole or whatever. Like a lot of us do when we come in. We didn't feel like none of it
I
made any
think we're
sense.
round holes because we're circle hologram people.
Right,
You're a
okay,
square peg, which is the black cube of Satan, the
right. But
Saturn energy.
right,
So
but we
it's
don't
like,
feel like we belong here, right?
no, no. But
Uh,
this is not the earth. Like, of course, we know the intelligences, the elementals of the earth is yum. Like, it's the heart. Heart is yum. There's like seed sounds of the chakras, and the heart, actual seed sound is yum, which is hilarious because I always
mhm.
love saying that's so yummy. Like, the energy is so yummy. So yeah, that's the heart emanation. But what we've had it infiltrated by, so I like to go to source. I like to go to the roots. So you can say it's politicians. You can say it's greed. You can say it's the elite, the cabal, Soros. You can start naming them. But transcendence of all the form is the essence, and the essence is the issue that we really need to deal with in order to change. Like, you can't protest, you have to psychically change the energy. So that is about, again, getting to these black good dark lords, which come from this. It was kind of like an error. I write about this in the book. It's a lot to regurgitate, but like, there's an error, Luciferic error, wherein it's all for the intelligence. Of course, we need to learn of these things. So they're challenging and they're testing, and it's a big process. But it's like the Luciferic egoic principle has to be, it's like a wound, it's like a cancer. And so we have to heal it, which is not going to be fighting, and it's not going to be anything lesser than Christ consciousness, starting at the Christ consciousness, going beyond. There's many levels beyond Christ consciousness, but it's like unconditional love is the agape, which is the only medicine to right the evil, in my understanding. So the messages of like getting people out of this mind virus, which is EMK Ultra now, but prior it was religions, prior it was politics, prior it was our education, like the various things that mind controlled us originally. So now it's frequency. So I wrote the book Frequency because it's all in the frequency. Like Nikola Tesla said, if you want to think in terms of the universe, think in vibration, energy, frequency, something like that. So it's like that's what they want, the intelligences of the Sasquatch, the dragon, the merfolks, the angels, the ascended masters, like from far, and wide of the universes, all want us to mature, to grow up a chakra, like
Hmm.
a lot of chakras, and like move into this place where the frequency is harmonized, resonant rather than dissonant. And that is all we need to do.
Agreed with you. Absolutely. I guess you could put political correctness into that controlling thing too, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's a
yeah.
big one. But
They want to keep us in
yeah,
chaos.
yeah.
So if we're in
Yeah,
chaos, we can be
absolutely. Yeah,
safe.
no, of course they do. And like I got caught up in the, I don't watch the news. I haven't watched the news for 30 years, but you have to be on another planet, literally, not to see, being bombarded with the lies and whatever, or the news from one side of the fence or the other. But um, it's and I find that when I get too involved in it, and I get mad or whatever, it's not doing anybody any good, even the people I'm talking to.
Mm.
It's staying in that vibration, like you said, and I kind of
Yeah. They
I'm
want
gonna
us to
try.
get out of that because that's
Yeah,
like the blender down into this black hole, this vacuum. So
yeah,
that's where the reset's happening. The reset's happening in this 0 point consciousness. And if you're down in that's the vacuum trying to suck you into it, and you don't want to go there.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I've always said to my, I've given advice, and sometimes I haven't followed it because of the time, but really my advice is that you have to get in your heart space, and you have to be in that consciousness where none of that stuff matters. It can't touch you there. They can't touch you. Nothing can touch you when you're in that 5D state of no judgment consciousness or love consciousness. So that really is the secret. And it's really like one person at a time doing it, right? So.
Well, if I might interject, you talk about the Luciferian energy. My memory goes back to before the emergence of God. So I was there, and I saw what happened in the first creation. And Lucifer, as the first light, was the first movement of God before God became God, and that's why Lucifer thinks that he's God, but he's not the totality of God. He's the anger and the rage and the corruption and the intent to kill, the intent to hurt, like you said, that twisted perversion. So there was the good God and the bad God, and it took God a very long time, actually, from the first creation. We're in the second creation now, and we're getting ready to go into the third creation. But it took God until World War II to realize that what he was seeing on Earth was his cause. He was the causal of it. So it's really about, in other words, all the war and killing and all that kind of stuff was God's denied rage. And so whenever you see this denied rage, like you went on to talk about, everybody's arguing, and there's this denied rage that we have. And the denied rage in the first creation hit the mother of everything in her heart, which later on became the heart of creation. And that's why the heart of creation has never stepped forward. Our issues on this planet have been since day one, and I've watched the earth cool down. So I'm saying that the issues that we have on this planet is because of heartlessness. And the heartlessness happened because of Lucifer striking the mother in the beginning, and what was to become heart, as an example, Jesus Christ was a representative of that. And he sort of martyred himself. That was a replay of that, him having to die in order to bring about a transformation of consciousness. So this stuff goes way back before there was matter, before there was beings. And it's being corrected now. And that is why we have the ET people here. That is why, it's a big deal. Planets come and visit us, and all these people are here because this is not just a correction on Mother Earth. This is not just a correction of our political, insane people. This is a correction of the whole fundamental energy of creation.
Yep. Totally agree. Yeah. It's like the reset of the ages. I go into this too. It's the whole, like, this is all, I think, in that unified field of consciousness approach, like as above, so below, as within, so without. So there's no separation. What is happening here is happening, in all the spheres or in all the dimensions. So yeah, it's like this, moving, energetic. I guess that's where, in that sacred geometry, it all begins to make sense. It's all
there's a quote in the Bible that goes, "Ye are gods and children of the Most High, and yet you die as a prince." And that's been our situation since day one. What does it mean to die as a prince? If you die as a prince, you never attain the throne. You never become the king.
Yeah.
So we've always been in the hierarchy. God is above, we're below. The police are above, we're below. The school's above, we're below. You see what I'm saying? We're in that corrupted place. Whereas Christ comes along and says, I and my Father are one. I and my brother are one. Well, that means God is not your father above you. God is your brother with you. And that's a whole different story. You see what I'm saying? Because now you're in your power, you're in your sovereignty, and gods visit gods. Instead of being the weak, the sinners, the lost, sheep and all that kind of stuff. That's the whole identity change. You see what I'm saying? This is where the all one really means all one.
Yeah.
Not one is higher than the other, or one is more important than the other. All one is all one, and that's what's coming.
Which is why there's this great shadow work that's been available in the New Age communities. I know for many years now, people have really been addressing shadow and doing shadow work in your own particular way that it's come to you. But I do know for certain, just from being in the kind of metaphysical community and such, that there has been a lot of talk of processing that you can't. I think that's the essence of the Ho'oponopono tradition. Like there's no point in like saying Lucifer and then like trying to say you're over here with all the demons. And a good analogy I like is that the orcs, I'm a huge Tolkien fan. The orcs are really just elves that have been tortured. So when we go back to like the merfolk teachings are to go back to the original blueprint and to really, it's not a process of dissecting, like, and when we're making clothes, we take things, this piece, we cut it, you're altering, but that's life. Life is this great tapestry that is sewed together, like, any piece of clothing. But like, it's all connected, but it's at the same time, you can't just be like, okay, I'm going to cut this off and it's not going to exist because then it's phantom. So then that's, to me, the shadow work is the cut off pieces that are now phantom. They had a presence, they were there, but you've gone and cut them off. So now you can't deal with them in the form. You now have to deal with it in the causal. So that's to me why I think that the causal realm has been able to have such huge impacts in our reality via the Satanists, via all these pedophiles, via all these sacrifices, also within this whole cannibalism that we're seeing. Even just to want to have sexual relation with a child is so upside down and backwards. That is like in violation to me of all sacred law. You really have to wonder what had created the audacity for such a thing to occur, or any sort of animal abuse, all these things. But again, because we've been like just pushing it off, especially over the last 2,000 years with all this suppression and oppression of the Catholic Church on our consciousness, and just, what that's all done has grown the shadow, has grown it, like in the never-ending story. The nothingness grows and it grows because we've cut off and shut down. So
a lot of that has to do with denial, right? When you cut off something, you deny it, and the actual what manifests into reality is not what your will, your wish, and you want, but what you deny. So that denied energy will manifest, and what that means is we have denied pain, and pain manifests. We have denied greatness, and so nobody feels great. Everybody has a bad self-image, right? And then we have denied sovereignty, right? We deny our sovereignty as equal with the gods and equal with our brothers, right? So what happens is we have the hierarchy. So what we denied, our denied greatness, our denied power, our denied sovereignty, our denied love, and our denied memories. So we deny our memories. So that means we don't, you talked about the orcas and the whales, some of the highest beings on the planet, if not the highest beings on the planet, and they remember, you see. The Aboriginal in Australia, they remember in a dream time. The Sasquatch remember. So we have denied memories, you see. We have denied our memory. And here's the thing about
that's
pain.
like the subconscious, unconscious, hey?
All of that. Well, like I was telling you, I remember the beginning of creation, right? Wow. That's because I did my healing work. If you have denied pain is the frequency knob on your pain is the frequency knob on your emotions, right?
Right.
If you have pain and you deny that, then you deny all your emotions, and your emotions are your connections to the past, your memories and everything. So you have to be able to dial into that pain until the pain ends, and then your memories come back, then your power comes back, then your connections come back. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what you're talking about, shadow work.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No, my,
But one thing here, the bat, right? The symbol of Batman, right? That's the symbol of the shaman's death and rebirth. And this, I believe, is connected to what Jesus, Yeshua talks about, the resurrection process into the ascension. Also, the book of the dead from Egypt. They all get into that same, death to be reborn. So there's be born once of flesh, twice of spirit. So this bat medicine, I believe, has been really strong on the planet for a while. I would say since 1987 at the harmonic convergence. And by the way, there's another 2020 harmonic convergence. I'm just getting people telling me about that is coming up. So there's another one, I guess, chapter 2. But there is this bat energy, this death of illusion, this death of separation, this whole Maya. I guess 2012, right? We had the end of the Maya calendar. Some say it's different timelines, but in that essence, and that's my daughter's birthday, was December 21st. She turned 7 at 2012. She thought the world was going to end on her birthday. I was like, no, honey, you're born into the age of truth. This is now the age of truth. We've come from the age of Maya, and we're moving now into the age of truth. So we're moving into a time where we're awakened, we're woken from the dream, from the ignorance, and all the shadow work that we've been doing, either consciously or not, is pushing us into the place where, it's like dying. And I've died, I've overdosed and gone over. My father, he's died and gone over. My grandfather's died and gone over. We're Cherokee, Choctaw, a number of different nations, right from Oklahoma. So you kind of have the Trail of Tears meets the whole, Oklahoma land rush. We're getting out the Germans, Irish, Dutch, English, taking over. So there's a lot of karma in us. We have a lot of karma. Also date back to the Atlanteans and the Rh negative bloodline, which I carry, which my father carries. So we have this steeped kind of energetic connection to these things. And what we're seeing is that this time where, it's like the wool's been pulled over our eyes. We don't know who we are. We don't know where we've come from. We don't know why we're here. We don't know the history of our earth. We don't know the history of, just us as a humanity. The whole history has been a lie. My mother's a history teacher. You have to have these conversations with people who believe in the historical narrative, which is just wrong. Like, I know my grandfather would say how the West was won or how the West was lost. Depends on if you're talking to a cowboy or an Indian. So, we're dealing with these dualities. And for what I believe is coming is a unified field of consciousness, UFOC. So you have unified field of consciousness. We're going to see the UFOs because we're going to see within this unified field of consciousness. So this is like pushing us out like of the birth canal, if you will, into this new age. Now, I have a little different timeline. I see more on the Hopi perspective of the 4th age, which we've been in, and moving into the 5th age. So I don't know your timelines.
That's the age of man. I'm talking about creation itself.
Okay, good to know. Thanks for
and it's true. We have these ages of basically where we blew up and became fantastic, and then it got corrupted and fell down, and we're in the beginning of the 5th root race now, I think.
Okay. Yeah, it is a fascinating story. I like the idea of the rainbow prophecy, mostly in the sense of unified. We've dissected and separated. So, the Black nation, the Red nation, the Yellow nation of the Orient. We have all these like separated, fields. And now I see that is what wants to happen. It all wants to come together, which will end racism like that. We want to end racism like that. That's how you end racism. Does not have a place to exist in a unified field of consciousness.
Well, when you're in 5D, there is no racism.
No. Well, there's no vibrational component to any of these lesser qualities.
I wanted to make and this is related too, but what a really important point that Mr. Beans or Michael said
Mr. Bean?
And that's you know,
This is
like
the
you
Frank
said,
and Bean show.
yeah, just the no, pork and beans,
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
right,
the
right, right.
pork and bean show.
I
So
knew
that's
Call
all
my
right.
show Frank and Bean.
Well,
that.
hey, it seems like it is today, but actually, I think it's Hillary's show today. That's for sure. But anyway, you know, you were saying about stepping into your own light or whatever. Like that's remember, and I'm not going to get into the story, but remember I told you I had that amazing Love Zap Part Two, Mr. Beans, a few nights ago.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah,
ever
okay.
follow up on that and reintegrate it?
Well, I've done a video on it and whatever, but I don't want to. I don't want to steal the. I just want to make a point on one aspect of it. One important aspect of that was like the Sasquatch were beside me, like you said, not above me. I wasn't worshiping them there. I was appreciating and loving everything they did for me. But like you said, I realized I had to step into my own light. I had to take responsibility. And that's exactly what Michael just said. I mean, because we are powerful beings. So I think that, wow, I'm getting that energy.
Nice,
It
nice.
seems like
Breathe
it
into
seems,
it.
yeah,
Like really breathe into it. They want
it
us
seems
to
like,
slow
yeah,
down
no,
and do
it seems like every time I do the pork and bean show, there's one thing that they really stress. And when you're stressing something that they really want to stress, they give you that, yes, 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 speak of this. So yes, they want us to realize how powerful we are and to step into our own light and to take responsibility for ourselves. Because, you know, they're just there walking beside us, like you said, you know, and they're beautiful and yeah.
check out this as a metaphor.
Wow.
So I like the idea. Okay, you know the Dogen people, the Buddhist order, they do the perfected light body activation or rainbow light body activation. So these are the beings that have throughout time been able to transcend their physical flesh, and often what they find is remnants of hair, some nails, because there's no nerve endings there. So they literally will like dissolve and ascend. And so that's a whole Buddhist traditional teaching and legacy. To me, in the Western, I grew up in the 80s, we have Wonder Woman, okay? And some people speak about how she is actually, again, inverted and turned into all this sick shit, which I don't acknowledge. I like the essence. I don't play with form a lot. Form is where it gets all convoluted and polluted. So I'll just stick to my essence and my experience as a child, spinning in circles for like a long amount of time until I fall over, just like totally dizzy out of my mind. Kind of like, you know, when I went to Egypt and you saw the Sufi dancers and, you know, you would see them spinning and spinning. Uh, so that symbol of, you know, we have, what is it, Diana Prince, and she spins and she becomes Wonder Woman, and you see this like ball of light, like it's like a supernova or like a micronova. It's like, and I believe our sun is also, I really like the scientist Ben Davidson. He and the Electric Universe people, a bunch of people, scientists, are literally changing science. Our science has been off, completely off. So the whole science field is updating. And Ben Davidson, he's got several different websites, YouTube channel, Suspicious Observers. So he gets really into this stuff. We're talking pole shift, we're talking like the supernova, micronova, and he gets into the whole history of the indigenous who have also charted these things. So we're apparently possibly coming into that. But that again is like that transformation. And I don't know if you've had those Kundalini experiences where it's like shock waves. And my husband of 13 years, he's a Kundalini yogi, very high up in the Satnam Rasayan, it's the yogic healing. So he actually had a full-on Kundalini, like it destroyed him. You know, basically, he was homeless for a few years, kind of like more on that camping, couldn't be in reality. He had to go off grid, just right the hell off grid. So it kind of ruined our relationship. I had to raise two daughters pretty much with a man that went full like Siddhartha, going out and not eating and yeah, doing that whole reality. So that was a real trip to watch. So I do also say to people practicing Kundalini, be careful. And also that this is why there's so many near-death experiences. It's like charging you into this reality that's coming. So we're gonna like, in a sense, kind of go into that spinning, transforming, and then you like go into your avatar, right? That's 5D. Avatar in her case was Wonder Woman, right? And I like the old Linda Carter version. I don't really get caught up in the Illuminati shit of it today, modern world. But super awesome experience, because that's apparently what also is happening to these Buddhist beings whom do this same sort of meditation and transcend. And so we know it's possible both as a mythology and as an actuality, as proven by the Buddhist people who do it. And I do believe our planet does that, and maybe that's the planet history and creation history, Michael, that you're talking about, is like where, you know, like I know from working with people in the Judaic tradition. I worked at a temple preschool when I was about 19, 20. And that's where I got the name Shekinah. I was given to it by some teachers, women who called me their little Shekinah. I had no idea what it meant. I didn't like Hillary because Hillary Clinton, I consider myself her antidote. But if you grew up in America with the name Hillary, all you ever heard was, oh, like Hillary Clinton. And I was like, no. So that's how I came into Shekinah. So they were saying that the Torah, like, would get, that's why it's like the scroll that gets wrapped into itself. That represents one of their ages. And so when they are opening and closing the Torah, it's almost like opening up an age or closing in on an age. It's very symbolic for them. And I don't know a whole lot about that, but I do like that as like a symbol. It's just to open up this book of life, and then to close this book of life, and then to open it up again as if it's like a new creation, a new earth, a new heaven.
So people are always constantly asking that question, like, what is, where do we go and how does it happen? So you think it's just an energy kind of thing, and we're going to wake up in a new reality?
I mean,
basically?
I think it's like birth, because I've had 2 children. So birth is a micro of this macro. But birth, you know, you get contractions, right? And so your body all of a sudden is taken over by this primordial, like there's no thinking, there's no doing, like it's being done through you. So it's not like something, and this is why so many women have, I guess, problems with birth, because there's so much hacked in the field. Like Rudolf Steiner talked about this 100 years ago, where he said it was becoming harder and harder to be human once they put the grids up, you know, in the beginning of this electrical reality. So that's where the Spanish flu came in. We see all these corresponding levels. But birth, like, will take you over, and, you know, obviously there's an end goal. It's like an inevitability. That baby's coming out. So to me, how I see it is the planet is in birth. There's a new earth coming. And so the contractions are coming. And as it builds, because we know in birth it builds, and you're dilating, you're opening. So that's our chakras opening up to receive, right, and to deliver. And like we are going to get squeezed through, you know, through the eye of the needle. It's like, I see it as a stargate. I see it as like, and it's going to be like that. But there's a lot to build up to it. And then like when I saw this as a kid, the visions I would get, we would like walk through, and then there was this big vacuum almost sounds. And it was like this quick, like, you know, you're looking into this world you're walking into, and I saw people holding hands, like walking in, and their eyes were lit like cats in the dark. And then like there was this sound, and then you looked back for just a second, nothingness. And then you walked back this way, and again, it's this world of living light. And then you look behind you again, and it's a world of living light everywhere. And that just kind of ceased to be. So that's a very fairy tale version. I had a very great imagination as a kid, or something that lended me these visions. I would ideally go with that timeline, because that was the most harmonic timeline that I've seen.
So this place is on another dimension, basically?
That's resonance. That's just resonance.
Another resonance, yeah.
Yeah, if you can resonate to that love light continuum, right, you're not going to go through the blender. It's all the things that are in you, that you're carrying in you, that has to be 0 pointed, that's where the blender feeling. Like I saw this in a wormhole, and up here were like these amazing beings of light. They seemed so far away, and they were like, practice. And I was like, I was on a mushroom trip, and I was looking through this crystal chalice and like a wormhole. I don't even know. I mean, you see things, you're hallucinating, what have you, but felt very real. We had this amazing sound bath going on. All I know is that they were like, prepare, practice, build your vibration. And this was, I don't know how many years ago. And then like down below, like in the 0 point in the hummingbird line, down below was this blender, and it was just like sucking energy like a vacuum. And that, to me, now I understand 0 point energy. So I didn't have the language for it then. That's part of the problem too of what's coming, is we don't really have the language for it yet. You know how our consciousness has been so lessened. So, you know, it's like seeing colors in these different timelines and templates where we don't even know a word for those colors yet. So all this has to be like, you know, like what we think we know has to be humbled, so that we, like Michael, you know, you've seen so many things that I haven't seen. Like, I don't have the language for what you're saying. So it's kind of like we all have to open, you know, but be discerning, but open to what's possible. So we don't know what that is yet.
Well, on a very basic layman's level, so basically you see, so the people with the high vibrations are going to be in another vibration, and the people who are not are going to be left behind here, or how does?
No, I mean, like what I saw was that there was people who would die. They would just have to physically die. And this is not a bad thing to die. We should not fear death. Actually, I like in the movie Hook, when Hook says, you know, death is the greatest adventure. So go with
Right.
that. So there will be people like my father, I know, will have to die. He's got like 6 illnesses, right? I mean, like the dude is so saturated. Bless his heart. But he carries from Chief Mushtagatubi, who's like 3 grandfathers back, the Chakta nation coming on the trail. Like these guys have so much ancestral karma that they carry. The emphysema, the heart disease, the cancer, the diabetes. These are no, you know, of course, you get into eugenics, you'll understand why you have the diseases you have. But so some people will die, and that's okay. And they'll achieve ascension outside of their physical body. And then some people will not ascend. I only see pure energy for that reality. And you know, this is just my personal visions and communions with intelligences. I don't claim to know anything other than what I'm shown. So these beings will be reset to pure energy like compost. Like, you know, like if you're carrying such wickedness, such disease in your soul, to me, I feel like there's just a return to pure energy. And that's not a bad thing either. That's no punishment. But what I saw was rays of the sun. So here's a solar disk, and there's rays coming out. And these are all these souls who become kings, like you're talking about, coming into the king to queen, to the sovereign soul, given the keys of creation. And they will come out and have a living ray of light, like these rays of light. And then the people who will make it, like the Buddhists, in their bodies will also, you know, go into an ascension process, but not necessarily have to die to get into that new earth, new heaven.
Is the new earth actually this earth? It's just, but with a different.
The Sasquatch told me as Etheria. They call it Etheria. And for this teaching, I'm shown that, okay, it's kind of like Avatar. You know, when you see the movie Avatar and there's like this incredible world and he gets uploaded somehow into it. Don't ask me how that happens. But to me, it's like this is a carbon copy. And then like they showed me the receipts from like back in the 80s where you would like take your credit card and do one of these things and you would get the carbon copy. And so they say this is like a carbon copy. And when Diana Prince swirls and becomes Wonder Woman, she leaves her carbon copy of Diana and she becomes Wonder Woman, her avatar. So it's not like there's like a D print, because we fell from grace. So if we've fallen from grace, we've just fallen through the dimensions down to this. Yeah, I think we built up from the first world. Like probably the dinosaurs and stuff. So it's almost like we built up from the first D, second D, 3D. I believe we're in 4D. And I see us going into 5D. And so 4D and below is the cube, it's the black box. So if this is the black box, this is the cube, that is going to jack in the box. There's something going to spring up out of it. The box is going to fall away into the reset, into the black hole, into the vacuum, into the 0 point. Whereas the jack, who's sprung now out of the box, out of the cage, the soul cage, the prison, the quarantine, will come out and be liberated, emancipated, and ascended. That's my version of futuristic timelines.
That's beautiful. I was wondering, that's really amazing that you have this kind of perspective. Listen, can I ask you maybe to try something? I want to, Brian had an experience last week, and he was, I don't know, he was meditating, or the Sasquatch came and got him. I'm not really sure because he didn't really explain it too well, but his heart opened up, and it kept opening up until it encompassed the whole universe. So if I could get him to tell you that story, maybe you could interpret it and see how that fits in with your model. Would you be willing to do that, Brian? Tell your story?
If Hillary wants me to.
Well, I'd be honored to hear your story. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll just try to do it. Yeah, I want to try to remember all the elements, but there's not, and I can probably do it pretty fast too. So anyway, I was just laying in bed, and I'm not a good meditator. For some reason, I've got a really busy mind, so I'm not a good meditator. I really want to try to learn how to do that, but it's just something I haven't been able to do too much yet. But anyway, I'm just laying there, and I had a love zap a number of years ago where I had an instant knowing of the universe, universal connection, all that, all one, all connected, felt it, whatever, got that all knowing kind of thing. And this is kind of like a part two is how I describe it, except it went a little bit further. So I'm just laying in bed there, and it actually felt physical, felt emotional. It felt like I could see it, feel it, experience it, every kind of emotion or sensation you can think of. But it felt like my heart was coming out of my chest and expanding and expanding and expanding. And it covered the entire universe. Okay, so I was part of the entire universe. And it was at a very good time too, because I was falling down into that trap of arguing with people about, like what's going on in the world or whatever, like making a post, trying to wake people up, and then people would say something sarcastic, and falling into that stupidity thing that I know better. So anyway, that very day I lost 2 friends over it. The very day I was having this, they dropped me off Facebook or whatever. The very day I was having this experience, and felt my heart encompassing the entire universe. And when I was there, like, because we're all one and all connected, I felt the loss of those 2 people. I felt the loss, like, because they weren't with me anymore, kind of thing. So I actually was crying about it, like, and I don't know how important it was to them. I'm just, who knows. But I could feel, because I was there and I was in that all connected to source, and to everything was connected. I felt that loss, and it felt, it was really emotional. And then I was there, and I was also experiencing like a lot of the pain and whatever that I've experienced, or I was going through those experiences, but I was looking at them from a perspective of love. So it was like they weren't bringing me down. I was still in that vibration of love. I was just kind of like an observer. I was watching it from an impartial kind of viewpoint, so that like something that happened with a pet or something, or relationship that that you harp on and you feel bad about, and it kind of lowers your vibration. I could examine it from there without it. I just basically as an observer, right? So that was huge. Then I could also, when I thought about people, I could feel their hearts and their love. I could kind of feel their essence and whatever, what they're all about. And what else?
You start seeing things.
Yeah. But there was, I don't want to miss any. And then there was the thing with the Sasquatch people. Like I said, I had that realization that they were standing beside me, but I didn't put them on a pedestal. I still love them, but I took responsibility, like I said, for my own light and whatever. And it was, it was like, I'm doing this. It's about me, kind of thing. And then I started realizing that I was having like dreams, right? Like while I was like awake. I could see like stuff like going on behind my eyes, like, and then I started seeing like a couple of Sasquatch because I thought of them. I started seeing some other things because I thought of them, and then I realized, wait a minute, I'm creating this. So I was like creating realities, like right while I was awake, and I was seeing them like in motion pictures or whatever, in my mind's eye or behind my eyelids or whatever. So, that was a really amazing revelation for me because they say that when you die, I've heard that when you die you can create anything instantly. You can kind of create your own realities because we are creators, and we're realizing that even on this side as we wake up, right? I mean, like it's just become so obvious. So it was like they were bringing that point home to me too, I think. And also it was also I was thinking, wow, I could develop this and go with it. So it was also like an introduction to maybe something more that I could develop. But was that basically it, Mike? Did I leave anything out?
I think that's good, but that's enough for her to digest and maybe give you some insights how it kind of fits in and how it all kind of,
Well, it all fits into everything that I've been taught too. It was just like another big hammer over the head moment, like, tying some loose ends together or whatever, because there were a few things that tied together, but yeah, what do you think, Hillary?
So the first thing is this card here comes. This is temperate. So temperance is the 14. So the 14 has to do with, the volatility of something toxic. So the energy of probably fighting and coming into this place where there was something that needed to be tempered.
Yeah.
And in this was a test, and in this was an initiation. So there was a test, you got excited, you were tested, sacrifice came in, that's how initiation is available. So then, you had to let go of these friends whom, aren't gone. They're not gone, they're there. You've not lost anything. You've paid like a price, which is always how you pay, like to get over the waters with the bard, the ferryman. You pay to get carried over the waters. The waters is consciousness. So you're carrying over into a new consciousness. Now the heart opening is this right here, which is the heart wings. So it's the winged heart, which is the unlocking, the unpurling, the unlocking and unblocking of your wings as your heart is opening to a higher love, to a higher vibrational, so to sweep, to clean, to clear, to scrub the places that needed to be tempered. So temperance is alchemy. So you're alchemically taking the lead in your life and turning it into gold. And as you went through that process, through the test, through the initiation, through the paid price of the sacrifice, and the feeling you had to give in crying, all that was there to open you up, like to help you to open up, to activate, to be able to come into this higher love experience, which is still, I see rippling, like rippling. So it's like a stone has been cast into the waters of life. It's brought up all this stuff, set this stuff all into motion. Your key is 14 temperance. So your key is to alchemically clear any hatred, any of these connections, or any judgment, or any of these. It's like the dark forces, and bless them. They're there to help us and teach us. Ultimately, I am sure. I also get very it's hard. It's, if you're an empath, if you're sensitive, if you're psychic, of course it's going to, you know, ripple. It's like cymatrix, you know, vibration on water, it moves. So your water, 80-90%, who knows how much you are, whether you're a juicy grape or a raisin, you still have water. And that is what's being charged and moved in all these ways by everything, thoughts, words, deeds, actions, everything. So we're constantly, and that's probably why, you know, you're busy. When you're meditating, your water needs to still. You can't have all these vibrations moving your waters. You want your waters to be smooth like glass, right? That's how you walk over the waters. Jesus walked over the water because it was like the emotional body. It was like the astral planes. He was walking over as a master through the astral planes, which is what's under attack, in my opinion, way more than the physical stuff that's going on. So long of the short, initiation, test and paid price, and moving into temperance. Uh, Again, this card is very beautiful. So she is this mermaid. She's very Lemurian. She's very connected to that ancient origin. You know, this is what we want. We, you know, as in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. So when we get tested, it's because we're getting shown where we're still connected to, where we're still chained to the rock. And it's our opportunity to release the shackles and the chains that bind us to that rock of permanence and the I guess you would call it the firmament. I can never say that word. And we want to set ourselves free. So you're getting set free. That's a beautiful experience. And clearly you now know the feeling of what it feels like to be that free. So now when you go to the guru gives you a teaching and a lesson, then you got to go and you got to master it. And then once you've mastered it is when you can come back to the guru and get another teaching. So now you want to master that lesson, that experience, and then you're going to get more. You've clearly got an open door to, you know, the guru consciousness, you know, I call just great spirit.
Well, I had the same kind of thing in 2013 or 12 or something, but this is kind of like another, just a big, powerful reminder. And exactly what you said too. Yeah. It makes perfect sense to me. And I know what it means for me, and I agree with what you said too.
Huh.
Yeah.
I pulled one for you, Michael. This is, if you don't mind, sorry.
Oh yeah, sure. I don't care. I didn't even know you did readings. See, I thought you just were like a book writer.
They just want to come out and play. But this is the Queen of Cups. So we're coming into Cancer. So, you know, we're in Cancer. Now we got the full moon tomorrow. And actually, I wanted to say this before I forget. So the Queen of Cups, for one, is Cancer. So she's the mother. So she's emotions, the chalice. Of course, we have this beautiful energy of this marriage that just happened with the Ring of Fire. So that was the new moon in Cancer with the Leo component. So you have Cancer, which is moon, Leo, which is sun, on the summer solstice, with the eclipse that made the Ring of Fire, which was the ring for the bride of the earth and the groom of the sky. So we've just went through a divine royal marriage. As I see it, the reconnecting of the sacred hoop, as the Hopi teach about, where the sacred hoop is broken, and now it's being mended. And so this divine marriage. So this is, so you have a lot of Star Mother. This is the Pleiadian Star Council. They're very present to work with you. So both you men are totally activated by this energetic quality of this higher love, because emotions, Cancer, love, the home, the family, the security. So it feels like all of us are moving into our own temperance, like, you know, simmer down. The Sasquatch keeps saying this. Everybody keeps saying this. Simmer down. That's why there's so much rain. Simmer down. They want the whole angry stuff to stop that. Like that's like fanning the flames of a fire. And we do not want to set this whole world on fire with our anger, as you were talking about Lucifer, anger. It's like, you know, it's only if we need it. You know, if we don't need it, we don't need it. It's only if we need it. So I feel like this, then tomorrow is in the full moon, and we have again this eclipse. So we're in this interesting, timeline as we'll move into the lion's mouth of Sekhmet in August. So it's this whole time right now that we are in, and tomorrow there's going to be a lot of juju, a lot of juju, because it's the full moon, because it's 4th of July, it's a Saturday. There's already a lot of people protesting, rioting, looting, going crazy. It's full on out there. We're watching like full on, in my opinion, Armageddon. Like no problem for me to say that. I see Armageddon. I see the apocalypse. I see the apocalypse is just the time of revelation. So we're certainly in the time of revelations. People are waking up all over the place. So it's like we want to move into this time where we are connected mostly to the Divine Mother, a lot of Divine Mother energy. Because as the mamas of the Sasquatch folk that I speak with, Kira Amma has been kind of my main person. She is the one who mostly kind of conveys messages back and forth. But she is saying that their fertility, their ability to exist, all these fertilities of life, and they don't like life force. Life force is no more. That's old paradigm. They want to return to source. Source. So may the source be with you rather than may the force be with you. This is how we begin to flip the switch. This is how we begin to stop perpetuating spells. We spell the word, therefore the word is the spell. So we want to be very careful with the spells we speak. We don't want force. There's Power versus Force, great book by the blah blah blah. I forget his name right now. Power versus Force is one of those. They use it as the map of consciousness, right? Like if you get into kinesiology, you'll get into this idea of a map of consciousness where you can kind of map out the vibrational spectrum of like hate and grief. And that's a really low, dull vibration. And then you kind of make it up to these higher vibrations. Dr. Hawkins, right? Hawkins. Anyway, so that's where we want to go. We want to vibrate at those peace, at those bliss, at those frequencies that are Divine Mother qualities. We've been in a lot of yang, like the yang energy has been like the last 2,000 plus years at least. So now we want to like, from the yin to the yang, we want to like kind of balance out this energy and bring a lot of that. Camps are so sweet because it's all about massage and it's all about, creating the serotonin and the oxytocin. Like you want to feel like that 20-second hug where you're like, oh, that feels so good, or you're nurturing yourself because we're so acidic that we need to alkaline. And that is this card, and this card is basically alkalining, tempering, softening, creating receptivity, because like this is our heart. When our heart is angry, we make a fist. When we're stressed out, we make fists. When we're feeling anxious, we make fists, and we're clenching and fidgeting. So that's our heart. Now our heart is not open, and our heart cannot give nor receive. So when we unlock that, which is your dream or your experience, you went from this to this. And when it's like this, my God, all of a sudden you can give, you can receive, you can massage, you can play, you can create. All this opens up. But when you're like this, you can't do anything. You can't grow food. You can't create because your fingers are locked. So that's our heart. And I was shown that as a direct also symbol to really show what it looks like, because that's the other problem. We have to see what it looks like. We speak in pictures. That's how you speak to animals. That's how you speak to Sasquatch. In my experience, is they show you pictures. That's how I see it anyways. I see pictures. And so that's symbology. That's the hieroglyphs. That's Egypt. We used to speak in pictures. Somewhere around there I have a book, The Alphabet versus the Goddess. And the alphabet, made everything linear. Whereas before, in like the more goddess-based, more matriarch, we spoke in pictures, symbols. So that's how the language of love operates. Is there's pictures. That's animal communication. They show you pictures. So I feel like we need to move back into that. It'll help us a lot, especially those who don't know how to communicate yet. Like, you're not going to rationally speak to Sasquatch. I never rationally speak to Sasquatch. That's not how it works for me. It comes through when I'm in my receptive and when I'm in my more psychic channel, right? So, getting away from this insane mental masturbating obsession of the Western culture to be so ingrained in knowledge, which does nothing other than give you facts and details you want experience. Wisdom is what animates evolution.
Yeah, when you're in that fifth dimension, there's an all-knowing, but you don't. You don't. I don't know the details so much, but I just know, and it's like that's all. That's all that's important.
That's all that's
you just know,
important.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? I just came up with something else out of that like experience that I had. Just quickly is that when I was feeling the looking at the negative and the positive, but the overriding sense of love, and it was okay, and as an observer, I just got what the message was from me is to not judge myself.
Yeah, nice.
To love myself and not judge myself, because when I'm judging myself or anyone's judging themselves constantly, then that's really holding them back from raising the vibration.
Let go of that judgment,
Yeah.
Your heart flew,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's not only about judging others; it's about judging yourself even more so. So yeah, amazing.
It starts within us and then it ripples without, right? And so I feel like we spend so much time looking out, and if all that energy was redirected from within, and then we were able to unlock and unlock from within, and the without would just simultaneously become absolutely blissful and fantastic.
Yeah, like when I'm focused and I'm in my place or whatever, like I know, like I don't go into these negative thoughts and whatever, and all these, these things that the world today makes you almost. It's hard not to, but people, I've talked to people about it, and and I say the best thing that you can do for yourself is get in your heart space, raise your vibration. That's the best thing you can do for you, and for the world, and for everything. Because without that, you're just the gerbil in the wheel, right?
Totally, absolutely.
Right?
I had a hamster before.
But you know what I mean. You're not getting anywhere. So yeah, you can get involved in all these causes and speak out and be proactive. But if you let them overwhelm you and you're not staying in your space, it's kind of like defeating the purpose in a way.
Right.
Brian, there was something else. If you don't let me
Do you mind if I just run to the restroom real quick? I just gotta have a quick.
Yeah.
Yes.
Be
We
right
can
back.
take a break if you want.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Thank you.
What were you saying, Michael? Or do you want to wait?
Yeah, I was saying, and you can bring this up, but what I was saying was last week you said something that was really important that I heard, and you didn't repeat it this time. You were talking about feeling all these people's pain, and then you started off talking about the two people that you left, but then you said not only did you feel their pain and your pain, but you felt all the pain everywhere. Remember?
Yeah, right.
And then you said, and that pain was enveloped in love. And I think you need to say that. So when she comes back, ask her what she thinks about that.
Well, you know what? You said it actually better than me. So why don't you tell her just how you told me?
Because you're the one who's supposed. That was your lesson. I mean,
I know, but you explained it pretty good.
But that's that. So in all this stuff that's going on, right?
Yeah.
Out there, that we talk about the evil and all that stuff, and the psyop and the bad guys. That's all the pain in the world, right? But it's also enveloped in love. It's also there's a covering of the whole thing is covered already by love.
Because there's no judgment. You're not judging it. You can experience the pain and everything, but you're not judging it for yourself or for others, because it's because you're in that vibration and no judgment. So that's the difference, I think. So ask Hillary what you just told me, because you said it pretty good. And I can add to it if I think of something.
Yeah, what one of the things that Brian talked about last week that he didn't talk about just now was when he was talking about the pain of his loss of his friends, but then he was talking about his own pain and also feeling all of the pain of all of creation. And he said there was no judgment about that, right? But then he said, from his point of view, that pain was actually small, and it was encased, it was enveloped, it was enveloped in love. And I think that's just such a great message, you know, that this stuff that we're so engrossed in is only a small part of what is, and the big picture is to be engrossed. Is the whole thing is engrossed in love, top to bottom.
Well, it's the judgment in your pain that brings you down, right? Because when you're in that vibration of love, there's no judgment there, so that's the difference.
True love is true pain is bliss.
Yeah, you can.
There's a doctor in Hawaii. I did a training for Ho'oponopono, kind of like facilitation on how to do this Hawaiian healing work. This guy, Dr. Len, who worked as a psychiatrist, as a doctor in this.
Dr. Hugh Len.
Yes, you know him. He wrote a book. This was kind of a while ago, and I lent that book out and it never came back. The teaching, the training that I did, he was a man who worked in a hospital. People were like, how are you able to heal all these people? Like, whether it was addictions or it was suicide or some sort of mental behavioral, issue. And people were finding great healing. And all he was doing was repeating the Ho'oponopono over and over again. I love you, please forgive me, I'm so sorry, thank you. Just like he calls it scrubbing. So when you live in a sense where you kind of come into that daily or moment-to-moment meditation almost, where you're, instead of thinking all this chaos and whatever, you're just kind of fine-tuning. Absolute love is all around us. Like you think of the Huna, the Hawaiian tradition, the aloha, all the vowels. I mean, their language is a language of love. And they were deeply connected to Lemuria. And this whole ancient beingness is like, I saw, for example, the devil once, and he was a little boy crying, and he was this horrible mask. But once I got him to take the mask off, he was just this little boy crying. And I thought it was so interesting because I was like, I'm afraid of a mask. I'm reacting to this mask, this costume, misconception, what have you. And it's become so big and out of control now because we fed it and we fed it and we fed it in movies and books and Satanism and black magic. So we fed it, it's grown, it's been the thing now. But once we get it to unmask itself, it's just this little child. There's nothing to fear, there's nothing to hate. So there's a huge forgiveness ritual, I think, that we're underway. Yeah.
Wow, I like that.
So you're like tapping into the micro macro, it feels like, just in the sense that, like, as a person does enough of their own work, from what I see is people then get utilized to do work like as a midwife of ascension or as like a healer, like a chiropractor to reset, the fields, the ley lines. I mean, we come in different ways. Or do multiple different things, but it sounds like you're certainly stepped into that place where now you're maybe empathetic and you're able to take on the macro within your micro as the mini and the one and the one and the many, right? So you're like the one and the many and the many and the one. So you're kind of doing this now work not just as yourself, which probably is why it feels so much more bigger and connected to the planet or to consciousness, collective consciousness. So that's a really awesome sign. Also, I think there comes a level of responsibility where there's power. There's also, great responsibility. So now you have, which is what I was also given down at the waterfall that I go to. Stop acting like you're a little kid, because I worked with children at a Waldorf school, 2.5 to 5 year olds. I've worked with children for like 20 years. So I love children. You must enter into the kingdom as a child for a reason because they're awesome. They're open. They're sensitive. They're dialed. They're not afraid to say, they're just clear filters. Um, so, uh, but now it's like, stop acting like a child. You don't get to just do whatever you want. You need to organize, grow up a little bit. I got fired from FLFE for being too controversial, which is hilarious. And ever since, it's been like, I don't want to work. I don't want to, I'm writing. That's not work for me, though. That's play. But it's like, no, don't want to be a part of this anymore. I've completely detached from reality. There's no job I have to go to. I'm in Canada, so I'm on serve for a few months. It's just a time where it's like I don't have to be responsible for the bills, and I single mothered for years. So it's like, but they don't want you to just fly off the handle. That's very 5D. That's also, I think, in this kind of false new age pseudo spiritual, they say seventh heaven, it's the false enlightenment. It's like you think you've enlightened yourself, but you're really just in this whole egoic, false sense of enlightenment. So all these things, it's like they want me to, probably you too, and all of us really, to sort of become, as you said, the prince. You don't want to die the prince, you want to die the king. Or you want to step into that king, queen. You don't want to be this child, you want to be a master. So there's a place to where you get into 5D consciousness and you just want to play, and it's so natural and everything just goes woo-woo. And now you see polyamory everywhere, and now you see people taking all these, substances. And I used to be in the medicine circle until my daughter once said, when are y'all going to get healed? Why you keep eating so much medicine? How sick are you? And it just snapped into my mind. I was like, right, if you're taking this medicine, when are you going to be healed? When is it going to be enough? So there's a place to where you step into this whole expansion, but yet you still got to hold space, and so I think that's another piece to what we're all experiencing in our own ways, how to stay focused and discerning and stay in our way, the way, the truth, and the life, and carry that, even while everything around us is breaking up and dancing.
It's funny, because when, there's no fear either. That's one of the greatest gifts of all this, is because I think people like yourself, Hillary, and myself, and Michael, I have no fear, because I don't fear what's going to happen, because I've got a greater understanding, or a greater something. It's really freeing that you can do your work and you can be strong in who you are, because there is no fear, that they can't hold you back with fear, right? Mm-hmm. So that's
we're
really
still in 4D, so it's like we're still in this time, we're all still here in this time, this place. So we all want to jump out of our bodies and go flying. I don't recommend doing a lot of astral work personally. I say be in your body, stay in your body, bring the divine in, as it meets, with what's already in you, like a pearl within a clam. It's in you. You want to come in from there, but it's like I don't really see leaving our body as a very awesome idea. I feel like actually we want to stay in our body and really get this from within our body. Because these are our ships. This is our Merkaba. So we want to drive this Merkaba. So we want to stay here and keep that signal really clear.
How about we combine the child and the king? A king with the heart of a child. That's a good combination, right? Because the children come in innocent until
it's really a ship, right?
Yeah. I mean, children come in innocent until we teach them all our, Right. That's probably the biggest crime that I can think of in humanity, is how we take the innocence out of a child, and say, oh no, that's not real. And, they're looking up and talking to their ancestors and stuff. And we discourage it. And then we start putting up all our boxes of beliefs and forcing them on them. And eventually they're just like us.
That's us. I mean, we might be a little bit more fixed up a bit, take our cars to the mechanic, fix ourselves up a bit.
I meant in,
I fully understand.
People in general. Yeah. Hopefully, people who are waking up won't do that with their children. You know, they'll encourage them to be open and loving and to believe in magic and all the real stuff that actually happens. I mean, yeah, that's huge. But
Yeah,
I have a
I think
question.
that's happening.
I have a question. We're kind of like fans of Sasquatch, and I kind of see Sasquatch as these really high beings on the planet and great teachers. But could you go into a little bit in depth of of who you see the Sasquatch people, what you think they are, what's going on with them, and their connection to this whole thing? Could you talk a little bit about that, the
Sure.
Sasquatch people?
Yeah. So Sasquatch, as Sambo always, shared, is like the medicine of honesty. They're like, for me, as I see them, they're guardians, uh, guides and guardians, but of truth. And and they're honest. They don't know how to lie. They don't know how to deceive. It's not in their way. So they keep and kind of protect, if you will, like the Akasha. That's why I always saw Sasquatch with merfolk, because merfolk are really connected to the Akash. They are the living records, the keepers. We're like the librarians of the Akash, and the Sasquatch are like the protectors and the guardians. And so they've always worked with us. I saw me and Bo as being like he and I were like a guardian and keeper. We worked together. So as I see, when I do my circle every morning, what I did when I was supposed to be on here with you guys uh, earlier is like I call in the West. The West is water, meaning what? Showing water is life. Water is the merfolk, and then the north is Sasquatch. So they are the earth keepers, but they're actually more on the etheria, so the higher earth. We have like our soul star consciousness. Etheria would be more that soul star consciousness, the causal, the higher dimensional counterpart, if you will, to this carbon copy, this lower density form. So they really more are in Etheria, in my opinion, as I see them. They exist on a different earth, and it's the earth we're going to. But for what happened, what they actually showed me very recently, I had a horrible dream about Sasquatch getting chained. There was, I can only call them as like Dracos. They're very heavy, like metal, like lots of metal. They kind of like Darth Vader energy on like ships coming down to Etheria, where they then, basically corrupted and chained and made into slaves. So this is why we're on quarantine. Uh, they have pushed these energetic forces, if you will, down to the low, low, low dimensions. And the iron core crystal of the earth is like a magnetic beacon, which is sending out signals and these, like a mosquito, you have one of those zapper lights they're drawn to the light and the light zapping you up. So that's kind of how they showed me this earth. Why are we in this earth construct? What is this iron core crystal? What is the whole engineered? This is what my whole book is about. The engineered reset was designed because we had to come down. We're like food to these energetic parasitic forces. So they're here to guard and guide us, but they've had to push it all down here. They had to create this whole plan because this was the only, it's like they showed me a coffee bottom. So the black goo is like the coffee. When you push the bottom down, all this heavy funky bits, the carbon copies, the bits, they get pushed down where the essence comes up, and that's the coffee we drink. So there's this whole engineered, which they have mostly engineered, as with all the other wise ones, the Star Nations,
Who are you calling they?
the Sasquatch.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Sasquatch are major engineers. They're very good technical engineers, but they're also working with the insectoids, and the insectoids work with our genetics. And then they also work with, of course, the Pleiadians, Arcturians, Sirians, Sirians, Alpha Centauri, all of us, right? It's a huge family of light. So there is this whole team that has been, I call them our Ascension Pod team. Our Ascension Pod team, each one of us has these different beings that work with us. And so those are who told me what to write in my book. So they showed me that this has been created to draw from the iron core crystal, draw all this black goo parasitic forces to this low dimension so that it could get reset. And 5D will be this new template, like the new Percy. It's almost like everything is just going to go into pure energy, and it'll be like compost and fertilizer for the future, for the new age. And so in this 5D beyond is kind of like this new sort of existing experience, where then that is what they protect, that is that they protect, they guide, they guard that principle of creation, and have been a part of clearing and cleaning these parasitic forces from all the cosmos. So they had to draw it out. It was destroying planets. It was destroying, species of all kinds all throughout. It's like Star Wars for sure. So it had to be engineered that there had to be some form of a black cube container, which is what they walk around in Mecca, right? They spiral around that. So we want to 0 point all of that. That has to be 0 pointed. Those are all the codes of the Black Magician. So we want none of that. We want to set all beings free, and the beings have a free will choice. They resonate with the matrix and to this divine template and all of that, or not, right? And so, and it's not like judgment. It's not judgment. That's what I love about vibration and frequency. There's no judgment.
Mm-hmm.
It just is. Isis is. It just is. I am that I am. So we are going into that illusion, that Maya. I got this teaching too. The Mayan calendar was the end of illusion, right? So we're at the end of illusion. The quarantine will be lifted because they were going into 5D and going into all these dimensions and going into all these planets and star systems and enslaving beings of all kinds. They're just hugely powerful groups. So they've all been pulled down. That's why Earth is feeling so inflamed right now. And the Satanists and the Luciferic people themselves, this is also the Antichrist, this is the whole biblical prophecy, say that Satan itself will incarnate on the earth. That is the blue star prophecy to me. The blue star is when we've successfully got all this energy drawn to the core crystal of the earth. And when we as critical mass hold that frequency, and the Sasquatch are helping us. They're like, they stomp, okay? So they control through their stomp the what is it? The pulse of the earth, the Schumann resonance. So that, like, you can see that the Schumann resonance is building because everything is quickening, and it's like their stomp. I was talking to Sembo about this. The people in Australia, when they dance, I believe the Yowies are who taught them to dance, because the Aboriginals dance like the Yowie. The Yowie dance like the Aboriginals. If you've ever seen the Australian people dance in their old way, that is very much how Sasquatch dances. And so when you're stomping, you're catalyzing this currency of energy through the earth, and it goes through the Dragon Nation. That's the south. Dragon ley lines, the grids. So they all work together as all these various intelligences. The wings people are in the east, the fairies, the angels. So we have these different intelligentsias. I like to call them the intelligentsias. It reminds me of the mafia. They're like not a wicked mafia, but these great leaders of consciousness that are now resetting the planet away from the corruption and criminal energetic construct that has been the last thousands, God knows how long. So I see the Sasquatch as being our guides and guardians, our brothers and our sisters.
So these energy vampires are or whatever you would refer them to. They're feeding off our lower vibrations are
Right?
what is their food, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. That's why through the
and
media
yeah,
and the
yeah,
music and the
yeah,
whole,
yeah.
they
And,
hear it.
and that's why, in order to break free of that, you raise your vibrations. They can't touch you there. So that's my simple way of saying it.
But they do have like weapons now, which, I mean, like you don't battle these beings. You don't even go there. There's no battling. That is so old world. There's no battling. You will be killed. So we don't battle the dark forces. We have to harmonize. We have to psychically reverse their curse and, like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Got you. So tell us about maybe some of the more the Hopi stuff or whatever. What are some interesting things that they prophesize or how they see it from their perspective? Could,
Yeah, the my mother, like I said, was a history teacher, so she took me on a lot of different journeys into Mesa Verde, Canyon Shea, Four Corners. Since I was little, my father being native as well, I've always been very connected to that energy, to that quality. Like I look at plant medicines as far as chamomile or any plant that's a medicine. Each one has a different signature. Each one has a different purpose. So to me, the Hopi people are the people who carry a signature of hope in their name. So when the people from Tibet came to the Hopi reservation, they could speak pretty much the same language. They could understand each other. And these beings, and also just as well, thing for fun, the Ewoks. So I know this man Rinpoche here in Nelson, Lama, and he was like speaking in his language, and me and my girlfriend were laughing because we were like, "You sound like an Ewok," and he's like, "Actually, I can understand Ewok talk because they have pretty much based the Ewok language off of the Tibetan language." Anyway, so the Hopi word Shema, Shema is love, and it's the same pretty much word in the Tibetan culture as well. There's a lot of similarities. So I see people as being from Pangea. I see like at one time, we were all really pretty much one of the same people, but we've been hybridized over, gross amounts of time. And there's different qualities that we each carry, and they come from different stars. Like Cherokee people believe they're from the Pleiades. So, there's many different native groups who believe that they come sort of either directly. Also, the Hawaiian people believe they come from the Pleiades. So there's different tribes that'll, have either specific origins or, we come from the sky, we come from the stars, people of the stars. So we know that they're within all these different groups, the New Zealand people, the Maori people, all these beings come from either different off-planet sites, or we're like bred into these mutts really, as we've come and traveled throughout time and space. So the Hopi people really, from what I was able to study about them, and I've been to their reservation and tried to connect with their people, and I never got like Sambo got, where he was brought right into that um, brotherhood, really, if you will. And he's gotten to go to Prophecy Rock, and so I learned also a lot from Sambo. But the Hopi people had definitely charted the last several ages. I really love that they teach about the soft spot at the head as being a place where you want to keep this soft, because this is where the spirit enters into. And so we want to, and so the people who made it through the last age, which I think is interesting because they call them the ant people, and these are the ant people that came from underneath in the earth and brought the Hopi people down and saved them essentially at the end of that last age. But the actual ant people are called the Anunnaki. So it's really interesting. There's some serious, like the Smithsonian Gate has totally, you have to get into forbidden archaeology, Michael Cremo, get into all these, Michael Tessario, Michael Tellinger, all these people, if you want to, Graham Hancock, kind of get into more accurate history. But the Americas is ancient Atlantis. You know, definitely Florida up into Georgia, up into the Carolinas. That's where Cherokee went. You've got, you know, all along into Texas, you know, even California. California at the tip of Baja, Calexico, Mexico. Like this is all ancient, you know, right out to Cuba, right out into the, you know, whole place where they call it the hot zone. So you can get into the hot zone. It is amazing research, okay? Amazing research. I recommend the Dark Journalist YouTube channel for the most accurate historical righteous information on that. So we have this whole ancient Atlantean culture, and they had trade routes all along. So the Hopi people, I believe, were one of those people that were connected to this ancient America Turtle Island that was actually very advanced, very high civilization. And we, of course, have been, you know, degenerated. We've not evolved. We've devolved. That's a fact. We have devolved. So at one time, we were very high conscious beings, had high advanced technologies, lived in high advanced civilizations. And that has been what, you know, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, these whole, you know, God knows the elite bloodlines, blah, 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 Greys, Reptilians, Dracos, blah, 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 parasites, Black Coup Lords. That is what they've done. They've corrupted everything. They've corrupted everything.
Corrupted.
And now they're corrupting our souls. That's what the Matrix is. That's what the eighth sphere, Rudolf Steiner talks about. And that is what this whole market of beast bullshit is. So they want to corrupt our now very souls. They've already got our lands, our tribes, our planets, our banking, our education. Anyway, so the Hopi were a part of these advanced, you know, and they could travel, they could go interdimensional. We all used to be able to do that. We got quarantined because they were infiltrating and they couldn't any longer. They had to be pushed down to the low dense, you know, dimensions. So the Hopi people talk about all of this in their own way, through the teachings of the Kachinas and through the teachings of the, you know, the rainbow prophecy, Rolling Rainbow prophecy, the Black Snake prophecy, and their whole basic, like, you know, I don't know if you got to see Clifford Mahuti when we were at the Psychic Sasquatch gathering, but
Yep.
Clifford Mahuti, you know, he's really more the inside. I am not Hopi, so he's more Zuni, but these beings are all connected. And as a person who's not personally of that bloodline, I can only look to them as being some of the people that held true. That's Sasquatch. Sasquatch will hold true the truth, like hold true the records, hold true the stories, hold true the bloodlines. Like they protect those things. So I think of Yeshua and Mary Magdalene and them, like, you know, protecting their bloodline. Yeah, that's where these beings would have stepped in and worked with them to protect those things. So the whole legacy of our history is wrong, and we've been lied to, and the truth has been kept hidden from us, and we have like actually the opposite, because again they like to invert and pervert everything. So the Hopi are not savage primitives. The Hopi are the kings. They were the living ascended ones. You know, as I see them as being very high beings, as well as many other, everybody really up to a point, you know, before they started getting corrupted. But, you know, we know that there was Tartaria. We know that there were ancient civilizations. We're finding more and more all the time under the ocean, you know, or buried in mountains. I know with different technology they've come up with lately, they can go over Egypt with their crazy sonar technology and actually see whole underlying civilizations that nobody ever knew about, covered in dirt, covered in sand. So I think we can take everything we think we know and then like flip it, and that'll be more accurate.
And I love Mahudi. I met him too. Talked to
Yeah.
him quite a bit. Actually, first time he seen me, he said first thing he said was Sasquatch, and then encouraged me to do what I'm doing. So,
Nice.
which really felt good from somebody that wise and
Yeah.
so. But
He looks like Turtle to me. He's like right out of Turtle Island. He'd be like a total Earth being.
so where are your roots? Palladian, or where did you come from? Do you feel?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting one. I was told Mintakan, you know, you could look at the Mintakan people. They're, you know, water beings. Certainly am a water being, but I really like the idea of Starwater, which is my character in my book is Sophia Starwater. Uh,
You have like, your book handy so you can show it to us?
yeah.
Well, yeah, we can talk about the book and whatever. I guess that's what we are talking about, right? But
Yeah,
yeah.
but we need to see it. So do it again so you can.
Hey, I've got it. I'm going to put it in the video.
I'm asking her to do it again
Yeah.
so that we can see it while she talks.
Oh, I see.
Because
So,
when you talk, then your screen gets big.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you're like big. You're huge for everyone to say. Yeah.
I
If you show the book and Brian's talking, then you go
Oh,
to a little tiny shrimp size.
a classic. See, I don't have that view. I have me,
Yeah.
you, and we're all equal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like the equal version. But anyway, so this is the book that was more or less channeled through me, came through in like 6 months of time. It's about 268 pages. The
Hmm.
first, the first part of the book, uh, and I put in here for uh, soul entertainment purposes only. It's very controversial in some pieces, I'm not gonna lie. Um, so I have the Hopi prophecy in here. I'm just gonna read the Hopi prophecy just for the sake of this whole conversation. So it absolutely parallels everything we're saying. So
Yep.
you've been telling people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell the people that this is the hour. And there are things to be considered. Where are you living? What are you doing? What are your relationships? Are you in right relation? Where is your water? Know your garden. It is time to speak your truth. Create your community. Be good to each other. And do not look outside yourself for your leader. This could be a good time.
Mm.
There is a river flowing now very fast. It is so great and swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel they are being torn apart and will suffer greatly. Know the river has its destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore and push off into the middle of the river. Who let be? Uh, Keep our eyes open and our heads above the water. And I say, see who is in there with you and celebrate. At this time in history, we are to take nothing personal, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and journey come to a halt. The time of the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves. Banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones we have been waiting for. And this was given by the Hopi elders and through their prophecy on June 8th of 2000.
Mhm. Don't let your leaders be outside of yourself. I like
That's
that. That
yeah,
one
and
hit
take
me.
nothing personal because
That's a real big one. That was kind of like actually something like what I was just talking about with my
yeah,
experience. Like take account
yeah,
for
that's why I
yourself.
wanted to read that because everything we've actually been saying is all
Yeah.
in that
Well,
very
yeah. Well, I find that when I do this pork and bean show or whatever, like all the people I'm talking to are so connected or whatever that it always seems to it just comes together like like you're talking about what I'm thinking about, or it's just beautiful how it all comes together, and it just kind of
mhm.
it dovetails, and whatever. And you're right when you were talking about like Sunbow writing his book, and you, we're all being we're all being guided. I mean, people who have a true connection with Sasquatch are all being guided to write their books. The vessel of delivery is all different and unique, but it's they don't yeah they don't let you veer too far off the truth. That's for sure if they're working through you.
So I want to read just from here a caption. This is from the Sasquatch. The first book, part of the book, is all channeled messages from the wise ones. I call the wise ones my spirit guides. There
Hmm.
are many different kinds. So messages from the wise one is the first part. What the wise ones say about truth, for this is very important to them, and it is the medicine of the Sasquatch guides I work with directly. They say that the truth can appear real, even while being absolutely false or even fake. That the real, actual, and factual truth resides within the sacred space and place where the curtains have been brought down and the wizards behind them revealed. It is the place where the veils have been lifted and when there is no longer any need for secrets or lies. This is simply because there is no ability to have secrets and lies while existing in a high conscious, high vibrational field as the law of oneness expresses. Real or true, authentic, high conscious energy and information is transparent. It is not clouded by opinions and perceived ideas or judgments. It just simply is. This is the law of oneness, which is the operating field of the wise ones. All is shared in truth and in honesty. Nothing is done in the darkness, for all is known and shared by felt presence within the light. This realization between what is done in the darkness in comparison to what is done in the light is how you will be able to discern and determine what is real and what is not. This information is accessed through the totem and teaching of the Sasquatch Nation, for they are the guardians of truth and their medicine is honesty. So that's just a small caption, but it'll go on, and they give you a lot. They gave me lots of things to share. They really want people to discern the false shepherds, and I'm seeing this a lot. Like if I look on Facebook right now, it's like, oh my gosh, it's just like I'm so glad, I'm grateful to be me because I've gone through so much to get to who and where I am now. But if I was just getting woke now, I feel for the people that are getting woke right now. I really do. I
Yeah.
feel very empathetically compassionate for you because you are in a whirlwind of chaos, trying to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think some of us, we come into the world awoke, because like you said, you felt different. You didn't feel like you fit in. I didn't feel like I fit in. But we come into the world awoke and we know there's something different, but then there's a catalyst where then you say, oh, okay, this is what, and then you can move forward or whatever. Like for me, it was in 2000. I mean, I had stuff happen before that, but in 2012, I was just walking along the dikes in my town here, and I looked up to the mountains, and something was calling me, go to the mountains. Right? It was thought placement, and it was also a very strong feeling, like I had to get up there. And then once that happened, everything was, they connected me with people, they connected me with situations, they put everything, all the teachings, and yeah, it's just so beautiful, how it all just fits together, right? Like
Absolutely.
it's just beyond words. Yeah. Yeah.
It's exciting to tune into, like as they say, this is a good time, and if I deconstruct just briefly the Hopi prophecy, obviously it's a language of symbology. So as we are tuning into the river, right, well, first of all, they say that this is the 11th hour. So I call this frequency, the hour of power has come because we're actually in it now. I believe we're in, they're saying it here. You've been telling people it's the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell them that this is the hour. This is the hour of power. The hour of power is igniting. We're in like pretty much where the baby's in the ring of fire, you would call it.
Yeah.
Crowning, COVID, Corona, crowning, it all is connected. So, obviously you want to know these things. You want to know where you're living. You want to know if you're in right relation. Wherever you're in not right relation, as the Four Agreements say, get in right relation. That's the Eightfold Buddhist, the Noble Path, right? The Eightfold Noble Path is the Buddhist people. Right hearing, right seeing, right feeling, right speaking, all of it. You want to be in a good way. Because again, that's all that heaviness is going to keep you locked, shackled, and chained to this corrupting, falling empire. So this could be a good time. Absolutely, this is a good time. We are getting free. So again, flipping the switch. This is not fear, gloom, and doom. No, 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 no. This is not none of that. This is a good time. We should be celebrating. There is a celebration. When I do the Sasquatch Nation, I always laugh because I'm like, to the north, calling in the place of Sasquatch. Yeah, Sasquatch Nation, and I always hear this. It's such a celebration, and it's like they're all celebrating already. Like all of these divine beings, they're already celebrating.
Right.
So we're just catching up. We're a little late to the party, but we're catching up.
Well,
And
that's why there's no that's why the no fear thing too, because that allows us to celebrate.
because
You can't celebrate in fear.
Now all of a sudden you're on a detour. You just got like spun out.
Yeah.
Stay on your surfboard and ride the waves of Milky Way galaxy.
When I focus on that, I'm good because then there is no fear and it is a celebration, and it's exactly. It's so I have to remind myself to stay out of that, getting involved in the judgment of the issues that are going on, because that's not my best place to be for me or for anything. So yeah, absolutely.
You're probably like a transmitter now. So I mean, we've been transmitters, but now you're probably like again like satellite. You're probably now broadcasting more energy, so you would want to be careful, right?
Unbelievable. We're just what we're talking about, that just what you said. You see how it all hooks up. I just realized the other point that I forgot to mention about my experience is that I used to do it with my girlfriend early on. We would send energy, love vibrations back and forth to each other, and we would feel them quite often. And so also when I was in this thing a few days ago again, they wanted me to reminded me that to be doing that, I got to start sending out my intention and my love to the universe again, and that's powerful work too. And so that just exactly what you said.
Right.
It's funny how it works. Yeah,
I know. And Heart Math Institute, they show that. If people want to see that, I mean, there's two places where you can see that, other than your own sacred site. But Heart Math Institute has videos where you'll see the way the energies are working. They illuminate that in a good way. That's a really great picture to get in. And then also in the Celestine Prophecy movie, they'll show again the energies emanating out of the physical body. And so once people begin to see, again, we see 0.0035% of the visible light spectrum. So we don't really see what we're doing. We're barely scratching the surface. So there's that place where there's so much more going on. That's where we want to focus.
We're going into the more. We're going into the more. What everything is about is the more. The Great Mother is the source of the more, and there's always more. Wherever you are, there's more. And we have within us desire for more. We want more love. We want more conscience. We want more peace, beauty, joy. We want more.
You want me to treat you better, which I have done this show.
I want you to be more than you are.
That's reminds me of Popeye. He had that philosophy right from the beginning, didn't he? I am what I am, and that's all.
Babies will nurse, and they just want more and more and more until the point where they've engorged themselves, they're milk drunk, and often they'll spit up because they've gotten too much. So I agree, there's a place where it's like, and that's the mother, right? The mother is delivering this life-giving essence, this energy, this food. The baby is hungry for it, greedy for it. grabbing at it, and you're just like, wow, there's a good thing in that, we are an abundant, infinite creation. So, it's like, don't worry about it. There's plenty. But at the same time, I think that, again, inverted can become greed. And, you look at the seven virtues and then the seven mortal sins, and each one cancels out the other, or like antidotes. I always think of the Skeksis and then the beings in the dark crystal that were like the sages, right? And when like one of the Skeksis fall, then one of the sages fall. It's weird how they're connected. But for that infinite abundance, where it's like, yeah, there's more and more and more. We don't necessarily want to be greedy and pervert that or invert that energy, but at the same time have respect and reverence. And I think that is a big key for people. We've lost a lot of respect. It's hard for people to learn and know the value of respect. In Tarot, the coin wasn't money. This is where we got so gypped. And I don't know if you've ever read the Ringing Cedar series with Anastasia, written by Vladimir Merger. He's Russian. So these come from Russian kind of folk story. Apparently true. Long and short, she says that the Vedic people, the ancient Russians, they knew that the Egyptians, when they got corrupted, they superimposed. So they created demonocracy. Demonocracy is the root of democracy. It comes from draconian law. So they superimposed into the consciousness this whole slave, victim, martyr mentality archetype. And that's where they changed the coin as virtue. So true coins, currency, prosperity is a virtue of qualities like Lakshmi, Saraswati. You're not seeing so much like this. You get into these things, you're like, okay, here's this divine Krishna and Radha. Look at, they're decked right out. They got gold and jewels all over. It's like, it's just is, because this is the way of this realm of abundance. It's just nothing, greedy. There's enough for everybody. But when they took that virtue and value and made it into money, is where they monetized consciousness, and they dropped it, and they perverted it, they reverted it, diverted it, did it all. So now we're stuck in this kind of concept of money, 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 greed, 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 when really that was like skills, music, art, passion, beauty, love, wisdom. That was the true currency. So I like to bring that back.
And that's why when your consciousness raises, you need less and less of that. You're happier. You find out that your happiness is not with your possessions or with ego or with power or whatever. So that's a pure example of that. That's absolutely true. Because you experience that when you're in that higher state. You realize that. So obviously that's where we're supposed to go back to.
Yeah.
I mean, perfect sense.
That's the funny thing with the reset. They're talking about political people are speaking to this digital currency, speaking to this whole level to the reset. So see how they have, this is probably my end message, and I should probably go soon because I know my kids are up and they've been walking around. They're probably wondering about lunch. So I'm thinking it's like the reset is to me kind of like an astrological. Of course, there's cycles within cycles. So you're speaking and seeing into the ages of creation. There's ages of the planet. There's ages of man. There's ages of you and me. Like so we're going into like what I see as a reset of the ages. Like where we're resetting energy into a new template and a new timeline, new heaven, new earth. Then there's of course going to be the copycat to that, and that's the reset with the chip and this whole matrix and this whole getting us into this digitalized AI currency. I think of alien intelligence. I don't think in artificial intelligence, because that's ridiculous. No energy can be created nor destroyed. So technically it's alien intelligence, which I like to take one more step further and say Ahrimanic intelligence, because I'm a student of Steiner, and Rudolf Steiner talked about Ahriman and how Ahriman was this like component to Lucifer. And Ahriman is a Persian god, but it's this energetic principle of, anything weaponized. He'll take any tool and he'll weaponize it. You can have a pen and it'll become a sword. Like anything will be weaponized by Ahriman. And so the matrix has been weaponized as the matrix. And as we get inserted, we have soul sparks. That's what inserts us into these 3D physical bodies. They have chips, which insert you into the matrix. So there's a real mirror going on. And that's what I think people really need to get. It's like they can completely trust in the divine matrix. Do not invest into the matrix. I would straight up say, do not invest into the matrix. Divest from the matrix, invest into the matrix. And we can still communicate on videos and technology. It's not to say that technology is to be thrown out. It's just to say that the intent and the use of technology can be a tool or a weapon, just like anything. I can use this as a tool to drink, or I can use it as a weapon to hit you over the head with and hurt you. So we want to flip the switch, get into the reset of the divine rather than the reset of the lower forces, and to really bring what you're doing in your work to open our hearts. Because that is the key. This is where the Merkaba lives, is in the heart. So this is the treasure chest. The chest is the treasure chest. Inside the treasure chest, locked is our soul. So we want to tap into the kingdom of heaven that is within us, and then it'll just go. And I would say that's all that really does matter. Nothing else really matters. Not who got what, or who's going where, or what did Trump do now. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. So, wow. So do you have to head off, or?
Yeah, let's call it. That's a good time.
Okay, that was a good way to end it. But I just wanted to say, we've been, Mr. Beans, we've been so blessed with all the guests that we've had, and Hillary's just blown my mind. I mean, just just amazing, amazing, like all of our guests have been, and really appreciative. What you said is really resonates with me, resonates with the message the Sasquatch people are giving me as well. It's the same message. You just say it maybe more eloquently with a few more details, but the same thing. And so blessed to have you, and thank you for your book and for your work and for your heart and for being you. Yeah.
If you get an update or some kind of revelation, and then I think you should. I would love to have you come back.
Yeah, I'd be honored. I thank you both so much, because anytime we get a share in this energy and consciousness, it grows. So it's just like watered the plant. We've just fertilized the soil of the plant. I'm growing a bunch of food, so we have to put in the fertilizer, and you feed it and you grow it, and it gets big. You have lots of tomatoes. So I feel like we've just grown a lot of heavenly fruits and food, divine food. So thank you for being the gardeners and farmers of consciousness.
I like when you were talking about Rudolf Steiner, because he used to be one of my favorites too, and it's from him that I got my view of basically right from him. I got my view of the Sasquatch people, and Rudolf Steiner would call them archangel earth spirits. That means they have the power of archangels, but they're here rooted on earth. So
beautiful.
That's a good way to look at them, because they've got those capabilities.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One thing about the Sasquatch, like you said, they can't lie and judge, but they do have a sense of humor.
They have a hilarious sense of humor.
They got a real sense of humor.
Yesterday, and got a download about the ships being implanted in the books, and then one of the Sasquatch characters, Safaro, he's in Etheria, but he's like, put that in your pipe and smoke it. And it was just so freaking funny. Like just the way that they'll just come in with just this hilarious I know, it's like perfect. They just
Yeah.
hit it right every time. I'm just like, oh
Yeah.
my God, that's perfect.
Yeah. Or little pranks or whatever, like they'll just little funny little pranks.
That in your
Just
peace pipe and smoke it. That's what he said. I love that.
Well, on that note, I think that our interview was smoking. It was absolutely we hit a lot of good spots, and we're all in agreement. And
Hmm.
just loved having you on here, Hillary. And yeah, we'll have you on again, and maybe we'll have a panel or something one time. And so from myself,
Let's
Fort
do a
Cunningham.
Lionsgate portal. Be good to do a Lionsgate portal. So this is 8/8, August 8th. Maybe we can meet again around August 8th.
Well, I'll tell you what, you suggested to us because we're open. If you want to come on and do something and organize something with us, let us know. We'll make it work.
Wait.
Sound fair?
I have a fancy dancy microphone. That means we're professional.
Yeah, that's because you're a show off. That's all that is.
Because
you don't have the big pipes that I got, so you need enhancements.
That's because you lean in. That's because you lean in real close to your computer and shout.
I don't even have a microphone, so you guys got me both.
No, I don't have a microphone either. I don't either. I don't have a microphone. It's only.
I think it's great to have the good tech though, because we all know the difference when it sounds good.
Yeah. All right, guys. So you want to wrap her up, or do we have something to say before we head off?
I want to just say thank you. I learned a lot, I felt a lot, and I saw a lot in visions that you've had.
Yeah. And I would like to say that every interview that we've ever done, I've had some point in it where the Sasquatch have sent me that yes energy, and this one was no exception. So they're on board, and I don't know if that means they're pork and beans fans or they're just fans of our work, which I know they are. But anyway, Hillary, thank you so much. We will have you back, and get that thing organized that you want to do, and we'll do it. Anyway, so from Fort Cunningham and Frank Oliver Beans, thank you for coming, and this is the Pork and Bean Show.
It was olive oil beans. That way I could be vegetarian.
Well, I want to call you Frank O. Beans. Frank O. Beans sometimes too, just for short.
It could be frijoles y arroz, beans and rice. That's the update version because we like to be non-meat eaters. The unicorns tell me that all the time. You want to see a unicorn? Don't eat meat. Don't do it.
Well, you see, he's more evolved than I am because he's a bean and I'm a piece of pork. So I've got a ways to go. I've got to grow. I've got to grow a little bit.
Sue might get some more pork on her chair.
Oh yeah, that was
sacrilege because.
Oh, did you hear that story? Just before, and we got to go. I mean, I know you got to go, but that was so funny. We were doing the last Pork and Bean show. Sue was missing me, my girlfriend Sue, and she thought, where are they? Because she thought the show was only an hour or something. And she lives in the States, so it's a tough time for us. We can't get together and stuff. But she's very sensitive and about it, and so she's looking for me and wondering where am I and whatever. And we were doing the Pork and Bean show at that time. So she just happened to go outside, and for some reason, and I know that nothing is coincidence because they put the thought in your head and you do something and you don't know why, but then it makes sense later. So she goes outside, she turns over her camp chair that's right outside the door, and it's like a cloth chair. There's no reason to really do it. But she went outside and there were 2 pieces of pork placed on the chair. Yeah.
Wow.
Two pieces of pork, like the Pork and Bean show, 2 pieces of pork.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's not unusual for them. So then she went in the house and typed out made a little post on it. And she went outside about 2 minutes later and looked, and that the pieces of pork were moved on the chair to a different position. So, that's sense of humor and also a message and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian, push the button.
Okay, you guys, from the Pork and Bean show, we'll catch you next time, and thank you guys for a real fun time. Love to all of you.